Good morning, everyone. My name is Fan Yang, Assistant Director of William and Stephanie Foundation. We sincerely appreciate you for being with us today. For those audiences who need language interpretation service, please follow the instructions on the screen. Please note that Thai and Chinese language interpretation are available at this time. You may keep staying on the English channel if you don't need interpretation service. Firstly, please allow me to briefly introduce the webinar organizer, William and Stephanie Foundation. William and Stephanie Foundation was established to assist underserved communities of all ethnicities. Its founders, Daniel and Ling Sieu, come from a long history of service to the community. The role of William and Stephanie Foundation is the bridge between the federal and state governments and the various ethnic groups that comprise the Asian and ASEAN communities. In addition to promoting economic development of minorities, William and Stephanie Foundation also initiates and organizes positive energy events, such as cultivating teenagers' social responsibility, increasing public awareness of environmental sustainability, local scholarship program, and music healing therapy. Compared to material abundance, we believe awakening everyone's dream and having a beautiful mind is more important. Since today's webinar topic is Ask SBA, please feel free to enter your questions in the Q&A tab. Our guest speakers from SBA will walk through those questions in the process. Thank you. Our next guest speaker is State Treasurer Fiona Ma. Fiona Ma is California's 34th State Treasurer. She was elected on November 6, 2018, with more votes than any other candidate for treasurer in the state's history. She is the first woman of color and the first woman CPA elected to the position. Let's welcome Treasurer Ma to give her opening speech. Seems Fiona Ma is not here yet. So let's move to our next guest speaker, who is Daniel Sieu, Chairman of William and Stephanie Foundation. Daniel Sieu has worked directly and indirectly with MBDA since 1997. He has spent the past few years building relations with the consulates and communities of the ASEAN countries, which is Association of Southeast Asian Nations, as part of his long-term strategy of building overseas relations, identifying development opportunities, and bringing in minority contractors as participants. Currently, his team is reaching out to ASEAN countries to assist business owners in becoming familiar with applying for government assistance programs from the federal and state government. Let's welcome Daniel.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome. Thank you for attending today, and we're glad that we're all here and trying to get our economy back going. Today we have a special guest. We have actually 3 members of SBA here to answer a lot of our questions regarding the different programs as well as the funding of Eidl. In that, we've noticed in speaking to a lot of our clients that they're having issues in securing their funding. They don't know where their application is. The information is either missing or they keep sending it in. So we wanted to have this session focus on answering whatever questions you may have, so we can try to get your loan back on track, or other opportunities such as regular SBA funding and what the business outlook is going to be in the near-term future. So as you know, we're always here to try to keep you moving along and get us all through this pandemic. So we're glad you're here, and we're especially appreciative to the members of SBA to take the time out to help us sort through what often is either confusing or periods of time when we just don't know where our file is or how to get it completed. That being said, let me see if our state treasurer is back and let her have a few words if so. Fanyan, is Treasurer Ma online yet?
Hi, sorry, somehow it just didn't make it onto my calendar. So I'm glad you called me and emailed me.
Okay, here she is. So I'll leave it to you, our California State Treasurer, Fiona Ma.
Thank you very much, and hope everyone is doing great during this post-pandemic as we are opening up and on our road to recovery. I just wanted to touch base on a couple of programs that we have here at the state. Number one, we do have small business loans that are available through the iBank as well as through my office, CPCFA. The government is the loan loss guarantee so that these participating financial institutions are more willing to lend to small businesses for operating expenses, capital expenses, etc. So I will put those in the chat box, but that is through the iBank, ibank.ca.gov, and also through my office, sto.ca.gov. We also have an important deadline that is coming up for CalSavers. If you are a small business that employs more than 5 people in the state of California and do not offer a retirement savings plan, you will, as of next June 30th, have to register your employees through the CalSavers program, which is administered through my office. So once you upload your roster of employees, we will handle the rest. They will set up an automatic deduction through their payroll, and these accounts will stay with them. So you will not have any other legal or fiscal liability as a small business owner. So that is calsavers.ca.gov. And we have multiple language operators and consultants, and also in language literature. So those are kind of the most important things I'd like to get out there here today. But if you have any questions, please feel free to email me at askfiona@treasure.ca.gov. And we will do our best to assist you, whether it's locating your stimulus check, your unemployment check, perhaps the franchise tax board has a lien on your account. Please feel free to reach out and consider us a partner. Thank you so much. Back to you.
Thank you, Madam Treasurer. Now I'd like to introduce one of our collaborative partners who we've worked with throughout the years. Asia Inc. is based in San Francisco, California. They run multiple programs, including the Minority Business Development Center in San Jose and in Fresno. Before we had collaborated on a state of California Go Biz contract where we were helping the minority community as well. And so both their organization and our organization are set up to assist businesses in situations such as pandemic, or even if you just want your advice how to grow your business, then actually we're both set up to do that. And we work side by side with Asia Inc. So here to speak today on their behalf is Tony Tang, who's the project director of the San Jose Center. Tony's been in technical assistance provider for the last 10 years with MBDA, or excuse me, 5 years with MBDA, at which time he's been able to assist clients in accessing over 500 million in contracts, as well as 300 million in capital. So in that, Tony, who's also coming from a finance banking background, is here to talk to us, just to introduce the organization and himself. So if you need to get some assistance and you're in that area, then by all means reach out to them and see how they can be of assistance. Tony?
Yeah, thank you, Dan. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak about our organization. It's truly a blessing to be able to collaborate with such a great foundation like William and Stephanie Foundation. You guys are doing wonderful and meaningful work in the underserved communities. My name is Tony Tang. I am the director for Asian Mixed Minority Business Center. Our office is in San Jose, California, but we actually serve the entire Greater Bay Area. We also have a sister center in Fresno that serves the Central Valley, and with partners like Dan, we are also able to help businesses in Southern California as well. Like Dan mentioned a little bit earlier, we are a technical assistance business center who focuses on the growth of local small minority owned businesses. And we do that by facilitating access to capital, access to new markets, and access to contracts transactions. Since the pandemic, we really made an effort to promote our in-language services, because we found that 3/5 of total minority-owned businesses and businesses in underserved areas lack or didn't understand the information that were rolled out, so they missed out on the resources that was out there. So we are proud to be one of the few organizations that can provide services in Cantonese, Mandarin, Spanish, Vietnamese, and Tagalog. We also have few volunteers at our center that speaks Korean and Japanese as well. I did have a one-pager that I sent over a little bit about our, to talk a little bit more about our services. It's broke. I don't see it, but it's okay. I could just go on. It's broken. Our services are broken out into a few areas of focus. There's certifications. There's financial services, the procurement services, and education.
Sorry to interrupt, but you can share your screens and share the posters with everyone.
It's okay. I don't want to take too much time. I could just go off like this. So in terms of certifications, when it comes to any projects with local, state, and federal agencies, it's really important to look at certifications that are required or available, or for ones that your business qualifies for. Being certified will definitely increase your chances of winning contracts because of some of the set-asides that are mandated from these agencies. And in terms of procurement, our team's professionals provide assistance throughout the different phases of contracting cycles, including identifying contracting opportunities, guidance on compliance with these government regulations, and assistance through the execution of the entirety of the contract. Our personnel has been doing this for years and have great knowledge of private and public procurement rules and procedures that apply to these specific agencies. So we've also developed kind of like a strategy which is based on economic trends, pipelines, and discovering potential gaps that can lead to opportunities. We can also credit the success of the relationships that we have, the success of our center, because of the relationship that we have with these certain primes, general contractors, and our partners in these local, state, and federal agencies as well. In terms of our financial services, our team's financial services are really comprehensive. We assist MBEs with financial management advice, assembling of financial statements, preparing for loan documents, matching them with any pre-screened financial sources. We secure the best financing options available for these businesses. We offer assistance not only with loans, but with lines of credit, surety bonds, SBA capital programs, which is we're going to hear about today, and others. I mean, this really allows us to assist a more diverse audience and not turn anybody away. And I would just leave it at that. I don't want to take too much time. I'm available for some questions if you guys have any more questions about our services here, but I want to give this time to the SBA partners here on this panel. Thank you, Dan.
Great, thank you, Tony. Thank you for sharing information about your organization and what you guys do. And they're a great resource if you need assistance for your business or your clients, in fact. And next up is our Public Information Officer, Kevin Nguyen from the U.S. Small Business Administration. Kevin has worked with us throughout the years in supporting different small business programs. Right now, he's majorly tasked with the Eidl program and very helpful in quickly answering questions, helping us to resolve issues, so forth. Kevin's out of the LA District Office, which covers Los Angeles, Santa Barbara, and Ventura counties. This combined population is 11.5 million residents. And this tri-county area is the nation's top international trade and manufacturing center. This is a diverse economic base with trade, tourism, entertainment, financial, and technological services leading our economy. Ports of LA, as well as Long Beach, are the busiest in the country, as you all know, and LA remains a powerful force in manufacturing output. Kevin is just a wealth of knowledge and resources. So he's often our go-to guy in SBA, and always willing to help us in the different situations, and like today, speak about the different programs and nuances in this regard, in regard to the Eidl. So please welcome Kevin Nguyen.
Thank you, Dan. Always good to see you, sir, and I appreciate that nice warm welcome. Go ahead and put up the PowerPoint fan, and we'll go through my little presentation, then we'll address questions as well. As Dan mentioned, I'm a public information officer with the United States Small Business Administration. I'll be focusing on the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program, and there's a couple gentlemen on here from the Small Business Administration who will focus on other facets of the recovery, such as the Restaurant Revitalization Fund and the PPP, and they'll talk about that as well. Next slide, please, Fan. This is our headquarters where we're out. I am up here in the Sacramento area at the present time, and this is where we're based out of. And the next slide, please, Fan. So basically, what SBA does, we're the primary source of federal assistance to help the private property owners pay for disaster losses. That includes physical losses as well as these economic injury disaster loans, which have really taken off due to the pandemic. We offer them in low interest, long terms, which help the businesses of all sizes, private nonprofits, and physically homeowners and renters. Now, the homeowners and renters aren't eligible for the economic injury disaster loan program. We have a new administrator this year, Isabel Casillas Guzman, who is doing a fabulous job, and she's traveling around the country, also promoting these programs for small businesses as we get through the pandemic. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned, we do business and home loans for property damage, and that's for the nonprofits, the homeowners and the renters, not covered by the insurance. And these economic injury disaster loans are for working capital needs. And like I have mentioned, they have taken off with this pandemic. All 50 states and 7 United States territories are eligible for these loans. There are low interest direct loans. They come from the US Treasury. People don't need to go through the banks to get these like they do with other funding programs, such as the Revitalization and the PPP program. And my 2 colleagues will talk about that. Next slide, please. What they do is to help the working capital for these small businesses because of these declared disasters. And working capital, they're not for revenue. What they do is they are fixed their loans to help keep the lights on, the interest payments paid, the payroll paid, the accounts payable going, so you don't have to lay off people. Anything extraordinary caused by the disaster, they don't fund expansion. They're working capital loans to keep you in business through the disaster recovery period. Next slide, please. And these are the disaster loan limits for the economic and also for the home loans as well. Up to $2 million, and that has just gone up as of October 8th for these economic injury disaster loans, up to $2 million for the businesses they can borrow. Also the nonprofits. Home loans are up to $200,000 if there's any kind of physical damage from a fire or anything like that. And there's been plenty of fires up here in Northern California this year. Luckily, Southern California hasn't had too bad. We also do homeowners and renters for personal property as well, mitigation as well. But the big thing is these economic injury disaster loans go up to $2 million for these small businesses and most private nonprofits. Next slide, please. The one to the back, real quick, Fan, go back one, please. Okay, go forward just one. Thanks. So like I mentioned, they're low interest loans. Currently for the economic injury disaster loans, they're 3.75%. We offer terms up to 30 years, 15 or 30 years. And with these economic injury disaster loans for the pandemic, there's a 2-year period where you don't have to pay anything on the loan. Payments are based on borrower's ability to pay, and we may take a lien on anything over $25,000. It's a real good program. Like I said, it's come straight from the US Treasury. The loan application is real simple. We do something called the rapid processing, real simple process to get through and hopefully get the money going out to you to keep your business going. There has been millions of these loans and loan applications throughout the United States and those territories. So we recognize that the wait times are a little bit longer, but that's what we're here to talk about, to help folks get back into the queue and get the money that they need to stay in business. Next slide, please. So the eligibility, as I've mentioned, all 50 states, so every county in the United States and all the US territories are eligible for these economic injury disaster loans. Credit history must be acceptable to SBA. Since we're doing our own underwriting for these loans, we have a little bit more lenient process for these, and you must show repayment ability on all loans. They have a, what they're doing right now is 24 months of revenue less cost of goods sold times 2, and that's generally how we arrive at your working capital loan. Usually there's going to be insurance on these loans as well. The flood insurance is for when there's physical damage as well. Next slide, please. We've been doing outreach in all 50 states. There's people like me are back in Atlanta as well who are doing outreach as well, but I've been doing outreach to television, radio, and print. I come to like organizations like Dan's and help them, by getting the word out. Our local district and branch offices, my 2 colleagues are from Orange County, are getting the word out as well. Small business development centers are instrumental in helping folks fill out applications or get needed documents. Women's business centers as well, the Veterans Business Outreach Center, and the SCORE folks, the Service Corps of Retired Executives, are all instrumental in helping these small businesses fill out applications, get business advice to get through the pandemic. They're a wealth of information. We go to chambers of commerce, as I mentioned, places like economic development agencies and Dan's organizations like this, the civic and business organizations. We also go into community leaders, and the tribal nations are also eligible for these economic injury disaster loans. Next slide, please. Here's where you apply. I'll leave that up there for a minute as I talk. And I noticed one of the questions was, how can I apply if I've already been approved for a loan? If you previously applied for COVID Eidl loans, you do not need to submit a new loan application. Once you've received a loan application number, that's going to be your loan number for the entire process of increases, modifications, and of course the original processing. Just go back into the portal, log in, and to request a loan increase. And as I've mentioned, as of October 8th, loans are now up to $2 million for these economic injury disaster loans. with a 2-year deferment period as well. So it helps get folks, these business owners, back on the road to recovery. We recognize what a long time it's been since being normal business operations. March of 2020 is when SBA started these programs. Right, and as of, I believe, about a month ago, we have done more than $1 trillion throughout all 50 states and US territories in relief funding for America's small businesses, private nonprofit organizations, farming and agricultural business were also eligible, and the self-employed and contractor gig workers. Those would be like for Uber and Lyft and DoorDash. Folks like that are also eligible for these small business economic injury disaster loans. It's a lot of funding that has gone out to America's small businesses. We're proud to be doing this. The deadline for this program is going to be December 31st, 2021. So a couple months, 2.5 months remaining in this program, and then it's going to cease. A couple of the other programs, which my colleagues will be talking about, the PPP and the Restaurant Revitalization Fund, I believe are closed, but they'll speak to those programs as well. But get your application in by December 31st, 2021. Next slide, please. And as I mentioned, these resource partners, they help you stay in operation. The pandemic is going to change your business plans, so you can help develop operational, financial, and new marketing plans. You can consider alternative sources of revenue. All of these resources are free of charge when you go to these places. Identify ways to reduce your cost, and you can update your management and your technical capabilities. There are a wealth of information. A Women's Business Center is not strictly limited to women. Anybody can go there and take advantage of the resources. Of course, the Veterans Business Outreach Center for the vets that have returned from overseas are also available. You can't do much better than going to a SCORE chapter, the Service Corps of Retired Executives, and speak with executives and gain their wisdom and knowledge and experience on how to figure out your balance sheet, your profit and loss, ways to go forward now that the pandemic is hopefully coming to a close. These guys can help you really find ways to alter your business plan and help you stay in operation much longer. Next slide, please. And questions I will take, I guess, Fan, how are you going to do it? Do you want to do questions now, or do you want to do questions at the end? Because I know my colleagues have a presentation they want to present as well.
Yeah, why don't we do them all at the end? It might be a little more organized that way. If you have time to stick around. Thank you, Dan.
Yes, I will be here for the entire show, and I'm also going to be answering questions in the chat and on the Q&A. So.
Okay, great. Thank you, Kevin. Appreciate your,
Dan.
your information. Next, we have Ronald Galati, who has been the Lender Relationship Specialist at the SBA for nearly 3 years. His key responsibilities include marketing of SBA products and services, training and consulting with lenders and borrowers of SBA products. He worked with different financial companies such as B of A, Capital One, FDIC, and his experience includes marketing, business development, financial analysis, and underwriting in the area of consumer and commercial lending. Ron is an MBA with a marketing, with a banking and finance, and also a BS in engineering. And he's a family man who lives in Orange County for the last 20 years. So let me introduce Ron Galati.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate the invite. I'm joined today by with my colleague, Adam Johns. We're going to take you through some information about the COVID-19 relief programs that the SBA has been running, as well as standard SBA programs. So I know we have a limited amount of time. We tried to put something together that would be an overview, and we certainly understand there's going to be questions, as well as we do webinars periodically. In fact, we're doing 2 this week, one on Eidl and one on PPP forgiveness. So we can introduce that topic a little bit later in the program. I hope you're seeing my screen, everyone. Again, my name is Ron Galati, and again, joined with Adam Johns, our Outreach Marketing Specialist. Our programs at the SBA have been across two basic types, loan programs and grants. And we have in the loan program side, the Paycheck Protection Program, hopefully many of you taken advantage of that. 1.3 million businesses did. We have, I'm sorry, take that back, 11, that was in California. Across the nation, almost 12 million, and the amount is about $800 billion in loans. The SBA also had relief programs on the 7A 504 and microloans where we were able to make your payments if you were a holder of a 7A 504 microloan for approximately 6 months last year, and then 2 to 5 months depending on your next code this year. In addition, and the big one that's open right now is economic injury disaster loan, as Kevin was talking to today, which includes the targeted Eidl advance and supplemental targeted advance. Now, those portions, the advances are really grants. Those you do not have to pay back. The economic injury loan is a true loan, like Kevin mentioned, over 30 years max, term 3.75% for-profit companies. And then the others that we've had and have really at this point are closed out: Shuttered, Venue Operators Grant, and the Restaurant Revitalization Fund. We'll cover that momentarily in an overview. These are the programs written out. Paycheck Protection Program ended May 31st. Hopefully, again, you took advantage of it. The big thing we want to tell you now about, which you probably know, is that SBA, trying to expedite the forgiveness process, developed a portal and has that open as of August the 4th. Lenders must opt in. We've had over 1,300 lenders opt in for that program. It really is a very efficient site to input your forgiveness, and nonetheless, the lenders will come in and make their review and make their determination, and then we as the SBA will approve it. The debt relief, I mentioned that earlier, that was not only for the 2 to 5 months of payments on your 7A 504 or microloan, but in addition, for loans through the September 30th timeframe, we had 3 months of where we paid principal and interest on those new loans, whether it be 7A or 504. Those are our standard loans. We'll address those real quickly in a few minutes. And temporary modifications, which again have ended, were fee waivers, and in addition to guarantees being higher for that special period of time. And we're going to have Adam cover Shuttered Venues Operators Grant and Restaurant Revitalization, as well as the Economic Injury Disaster Loan program that coupled with the targeted advance. And as Kevin mentioned, extended to 12/31 of this year. However, what we're hearing from OCA is those applications must be approved and funded prior to year end. So there's obviously a short window here when you think of the processing time, and Adam can talk more about that. For forgiveness, I've been involved with PPP since the get-go. The forgiveness process now, very simple in terms of application, has got to either be submitted through SBA's direct forgiveness portal, which again, your lender has to opt in for, or go through your lender. Submit that application, the lender's going to review, and the SBA is going to make the final determination and feed back to the lender in turn back to you. If there's an outstanding balance, they'll tell you what that is, and they'll tell you when those payments will start and how much they are. Keep in mind on forgiveness, you have from 10 months from the end of your covered period to submit your application. If you do that, you will not have to start payments on that loan. If you extend past that 10 months, the lender will ask you to start making payments, and you really should make those. You don't want to be in a default situation. Again, that portal we mentioned, we've created. Hopefully your lender is signed up for it, but it will again expedite the process, we believe, using our direct forgiveness platform. We've already done over 1 million applications through that platform, about $17 billion forgiven, and we're averaging about 5 business days to complete the forgiveness process. The other thing we've done is put up a get revenue reduction score, created that for every business, whether your lenders had opt-in or not. If you had a second draw where you had to demonstrate the 25% revenue reduction, by virtue of the score, either a pass or fail, you will not have to submit documentation supporting that. So check with your lender, and even if it's a fail score, you can submit your information and overturn that. Keep in mind that the direct forgiveness platform is for loans 150,000 or less. That's basically on the S form, and it should represent 93% of the outstanding PPP loans. So we're seeing a lot of activity with those loans, a lot of forgiveness applications. We have about 4 million remaining to complete the entire forgiveness process. And this is what the portal will look like if you in fact go that route, our direct forgiveness portal. And we'll also mention that there's a training video on this. If you need that, please touch base with Adam and I. Will give you some contact information later. But that training video is very helpful to get through that application process on the portal. With that said, I'm going to turn it over to Adam, who's going to go through some of our other programs. Adam.
Hey, thank you, Ron, and thanks again, everyone, for joining us today. It's a pleasure to assist. So real briefly, some of the other COVID-19 relief programs that the SBA had on offer. First, this slide is for the Shuttered Venue Operators Grant. This program was a grant program aimed at helping those businesses related to the performing arts. So it could have been for live venue operators or promoters, motion picture theaters, movie theaters, for instance, museums, aquariums, anything related to that. But the program is currently closed to new application. They are currently in an appeals and reconsideration phase and a supplemental grant phase. So if you did apply and you were potentially declined, or if you received less money than what you expected, you can be filing an appeal or reconsideration currently. Or if you receive the award, you might be requesting a supplemental grant, which can be up to 50% of your original award. But this program paid out over 12,000 grants for $10 billion. The bulk of that, the bulk of the awards coming to California small businesses. An estimated $1.63 billion came to California small businesses for this. New York actually beat us out by just a little bit at $1.67 billion so far, although they have actually received less awards overall. But a very important program for those industries. And if you were declined and you are appealing, be sure to submit everything you need to overturn that decline. Take a look at the SBA's website. There are a number of resources on the SBA website. If you are in appeal process or you are in reconsideration, there are documents there that can help you determine why you might have been declined and what you need to submit to overturn that decline. So take a look at the SBA's website for resources. Real briefly, the Restaurant Revitalization Fund. This was another grant program aimed at helping those businesses where the public assembles to be served food and drink. So that might be a restaurant, bars, pubs, food trucks, food stands, anything where the public assembles to be served food or drink. Unfortunately, the program ran out of money very quickly. It did not have enough funding to support the demand. The SBA received 278,000 applications representing over $72 billion in funding, but the program only had 28.6 billion allocated to it. So the funding went very quickly, and this program also is currently closed. There has been talk of a Replenishment Act. There have been several different iterations in Congress already. My understanding is that none of those have made it to a vote. However, if a Replenishment Act is passed and signed into law and more funding is given to the program will restart right where it left off. So if you applied previously and didn't get funded, your application would get picked right back up where it left off. If this affects you and you are interested in this, I would encourage you to contact your congressman to let them know. As of right now, the program is closed, and if you haven't been funded already, you're not going to be, but keep in mind that it is possible a Replenishment Act may come through at some time. COVID Eidl, this is what Kevin talked about today. But nationwide, the SBA has approved over 3.8 million loans for roughly $280 billion. Again, the bulk of that coming to California small business owners California, we've had over 580,000 loans approved for roughly $50 billion. So you can see a huge chunk of this funding is coming to California small businesses. Next largest state is Florida, down at 28.8 billion. So you can see California really is taking advantage of these programs. As Kevin and Ron mentioned, this program is not closed. This is the one disaster program that is really still available. So if you have not applied already, take a look at it, see if you can qualify, get your application in as soon as possible. If you have already received the loan or you have already applied, do not apply again. Depending on where you're at, you may need to go through reconsideration for your original application, or if you've received the loan, you could potentially request an increase to your loan. Depending on when you received it, the maximum loan amounts have been increased. As Kevin mentioned, the new loan maximum is $2 million. It is based on your revenue and cost of goods sold. So not everyone is going to qualify for the full 2 million. But depending on when you received your loan, you might have received it when the maximum loan amount was $150,000, or earlier this year when the maximum loan amount was $500,000. So you might be able to be eligible for an increase if you've already received the loan. Again, if that's the case and you're interested in more funding, get your request in as soon as possible. This program does have significantly long processing times because of the volume and because of the underwriting and everything that's involved with it. This slide, real briefly, just on the COVID-19 Eidl. As Kevin mentioned, very favorable terms for a small business owner, 3.75% annual interest rate. That drops down to 2.75% if you're a nonprofit organization. It is a 30-year loan. And Kevin mentioned no payments due for 24 months. That's a recent change, but it is retroactive. So even if you've already received the loan, you will not have any loan payments due for 24 months. However, it's important to keep in mind that although payments are not due, interest does start accruing as soon as you receive funding. So as soon as your loan is dispersed, interest starts accruing, even though no payments are due for 24 months. And then as Kevin mentioned, the use of funds, this really is a working capital loan for normal operating expenses. You can use this money, the COVID Eidl money, you can use for payroll, rent for the business, inventory, raw materials. One change as of September 8th is that the use of funds has been expanded. So you may now use COVID Eidl proceeds to make commercial debt payments or prepayment. So that means if your business has higher interest rate commercial debt, possibly credit cards, for instance, you can use the COVID Eidl loan proceeds to pay off that higher interest rate commercial debt, replace it with the lower interest rate COVID Eidl loan. Hopefully that'll improve your situation, help you with your cash flow. But that's a significant change that came through on September 8th. You can also, real quick, Ron, I'll just mention, you can also use the money to pay regularly scheduled payments of federal debt. You cannot prepay federal debt. You can only prepay commercial debt. The targeted Eidl advance. So this is the grant portion of the COVID Eidl program that Ron mentioned. Now, to get access to the grants, you have to apply for the loan program first. If you're a new applicant, you should receive an email usually within 72 hours of applying for the program that will provide an application link for the targeted Eidl advance. So you have to apply for the loan program first to get access to the grant. If you may remember the Eidl advance from last year, ran out of money, I believe in early July of last year, but it provided up to $10,000 and was based on your employee count. It was $1,000 per head, up to 10. The targeted Eidl advance looks to get you the balance of that $10,000. However, the targeted portion is that this really is targeting the hardest hit small businesses in America. So there are some strict criteria to be eligible for the grant. Your business needs to be located in a low income community. You have to be able to demonstrate a 30% or more economic loss, and you have to have 300 or fewer employees. If you meet that criteria, though, definitely we encourage you to take advantage of this. There is still funding available for this. There is also a second grant, the supplemental targeted Eidl advance, which looks to get you an additional $5,000. And if you qualify and get approved for the targeted Eidl advance, you'll then go into the pot for the supplemental advance. It has even stricter criteria, still have to be in the low income community, but now you have to show a 50% or more economic loss. And instead of 300 or fewer employees, you'll be required to have 10 or fewer employees. Next, Ron, I'll let you cover some of the traditional programs.
Okay, thank you, Adam. And I know we have limited time and we have a lot of information we're presenting. So we are going to tell you about our webinars that are out there, and spend more time on any one of these programs, and certainly you can email us for more information. But our bread and butter programs that outside of COVID are our 504, 7A, and microloans. They'll cover, again, a lot of those. In fact, the programs I'm aware, all the programs I'm aware of on the relief side are kind of working capital focused. So if you want to buy that piece of equipment, you're ready to expand, put some leasehold improvements to buy a business, these loans will be very well received, I believe. The 504 loan is a certified development company loan put together with a third-party lender, and they can get you rates for when you do real estate combined with equipment, what have you. You're looking at rates of about a little over 3%. So a dynamite program from an interest rate standpoint, 25-year term. That's a great loan. 7A will do a lot of those same kinds of things to a lesser degree in terms of dollar value, but all of these loans it's the 504 and 7A max out at $5 million total. The micro loan is, again, less than 50,000 or less, a little more eased on credit requirements. It might help those smallest of small businesses. Again, the gamut of what these do covers just everything between purchasing land and real estate to working capital needs. And a key thing that we just had announced recently is the fact that the 7A loans up to $350,000 will have zero upfront and annual fee. That could be 2+% and annual fees about 50 basis points. So good savings here. Take advantage of that. And then for veterans loans, up for express loans, which will go up to $500,000, there will be no upfront guarantee fee. Now, just to mention upcoming webinars, before I do that, resources, SBA.gov. That's what the key source you want to have in mind. You click the Learn More button. You're going to get all those funding, those programs we just talked about, PPP, Eidl, and all the information is packed in there. I think it's well done. It's well organized. If you need help with it, again, there's resources there to help you as well. That is, personally, our staff can do that, as well as Kevin mentioned, our resource partners. Orange County Inland Empire District Office, we're proud of this. Go to Google, search SBA Santa Ana, and you'll go to this very first page. If you click Office Directory, you'll get a list of all of our names and emails. Click the resource guide, you'll learn more about all what we do at SBA. And then, as Kevin also mentioned, whether it be SCORE, Small Business Development Center, Women's Business Center, or SoCal VBOC, these organizations are there. If you go to page 11 or resource guide, all the contact information is there. They can help you. We can do so much with webinars. These folks will sit down one-on-one, no charge, help you through your business. And we do have a person in the SBDC that does have good wherewithal skills. And I know for sure she can translate into Korean. I believe we have one other person that is available that is good in Vietnamese language as well. Again, as I just mentioned, upcoming programs, targeted advance tomorrow. We're going to go through soup to nuts, starting the application process all the way through the increase, the reconsideration, etc., starting at 2 p.m. And if that information you're interested in that, I'll have Adam paste in some of the information about where to grab that. And FPPP forgiveness is going to follow on Thursday. Go through how you can get that 100% forgiveness you're looking for. And then as we go through the process next week, we'll also have a Q&A session, just Ask SBA. And with that, we're down to questions. So I do thank you. And Adam, do you have a final comment about some of the charts I just put up?
No, Ron, I think we've given too much information. So definitely, if anybody needs assistance, please type in questions in the Q&A now, or feel free to reach out to us after the webinar today.
Thank you, gentlemen. And I'd like to say to all of you too, actually, Adam is one of the people who actually look at these files and approve them. So he knows what to look for. He knows what the issues are for loans or for any given loan in that regard. He can advise as to what has to be tweaked or what the issue is. That being said, we'd prefer that you all filter your questions and information, whether you want to ask a question today or you can email us and we can reach out to any one of our SBA friends for the answers. And it's a little more efficient that way too, so they don't get barraged with a lot of emails or questions. That being said, let's go ahead and go to Q&A and see what questions we have for our SBA representatives. Fawn, do we have a question out there?
Yeah, sure. We have a question from Sharon. So Sharon asked, I received notification that I was approved for a supplemental Eidl advance. Should I expect notice on the targeted Eidl advance soon? I think this question is for Mr. Adam Johns.
Sure. Hi, Sharon. So generally the supplemental advance is not going to be considered unless you've already been approved for the targeted Eidl advance. The supplemental is actually the second grant right now. So if you've been notified you were approved for the supplemental Eidl advance, that would indicate to me that you've already been approved for the targeted advance as well. Most of the cases that I see when I'm contacted for assistance, the supplemental and the targeted advance, they tend to get dispersed and processed and dispersed on the same day or within 24 hours of each other. So I would double check when you get your disbursement, check to see if there might be two transfers into your account for each grant.
If I can add to that as well, make sure, double check that your account number, your banking transfer number is accurate. There have been multitudes of advances that have not gone through because of transposed banking account figures. So just double check that.
Yeah, and that's actually an excellent point, Kevin. One of the biggest hurdles for funding that we've seen that have caused really long delays have been banking issues. So you absolutely need to double check your account number and your routing number, because if the funding cannot go through, I don't want to say it's a nightmare, but it is going to take a very long time to get that corrected. It is not a quick process. Most funding issues will take several months to correct. So make sure your banking information is correct.
Thank you. Thank you for the detailed answers. We have another question from Ms. Zhen Yuan. Ms. Yuan asked, I've submitted an application for advance loan, but was refused due to a document missing. I tried to send the document, but cannot find the email requesting the document. Can I apply again?
So you would not want to apply again. If you've already applied, any new application is going to be marked as a duplicate. So if this is for the advance portion of the COVID Eidl process, the correct email address is going to be targeted advance reevaluation at sba.gov. And you can submit any documents to overturn the decline to that email address. If it is for the loan portion of the program, then you likely would need to go through the reconsideration inbox, which is going to be pdcrecons at sba.gov. PDC stands for Processing and Disbursement Center. I'll type these into you, Jen, in a comment so that you can see the email addresses as well, but do not apply a second time. You'll need to go through either the reevaluation or reconsideration process.
Let me add to that, if any of you have trouble in submitting, or you're submitting and you don't know if SBA received your information, you can reach out to us, and in some cases we can actually help to go in and see what the particular problem is, because a lot of times you send it in, you didn't get a response. It's sitting there waiting. They're waiting for you. You're waiting for them, and nothing seems to be happening. Also, just little things can get your documentation kicked back, like For example, we had one client who sent their ID in black and white, which they needed to have in color. And so that was just sitting there until we were able to actually go in and see what the problem is. And we were able to get that taken care of. So a lot of things you may not think of, we've probably run across it with our clients, and we'd be glad to help you folks resolve these little issues, which can just hold your file in eternity there. Next question, we have a question in Thai, and can our Thai interpreter interpret that question for us? Appears we may need to get back to you then if we don't have a response there. Do we have any further questions?
If you have any questions about Eidl or any other fundings, this is the best opportunity for you to ask.
And also confidentially, if you want to just email us, we can confidentially talk about your situation and try to help you resolve it as well.
Oh, we have a question from Miss Shirley, and she wants to ask the question herself. Let me allow her to talk. Hello, Miss Lee. Yeah.
Hi, did you hear me?
Yep, we hear you, Cher.
Oh, hi. Thank you, Daniel. Okay, my question for the Kevin. So about the EIDL, the loan. So he is there?
Yes.
Okay. Hi, Kevin. How are you?
Hi. Good. Thank you.
Yeah, good. We was applied last year for that loan, but after I apply, so we think we may don't need it. Then we cancel it. So turn right now, and as you said, we still can apply. So how do I back to the account we already applied in last year?
You would still have your application number, and
Yes.
you would then ask for the reconsideration. Don't open a new application. That would be just considered a duplicate application. Okay. So I'm going to send my email to Daniel, and then I'll send you some information on what to do if you've canceled the loan and you want to reapply for the reconsideration.
Yes. So as you said, and was SBA and someone contacted me, and I already submit back to as she told me what but later we didn't get a following any updated information. So that's why I want to see how's going on the later.
Right. Do you have her email, Daniel?
Yes, we do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Send your application number and send it to Daniel, and Daniel will forward it to me, and I'll respond to you directly.
Okay, wonderful. All right, I go ahead and do that.
Thank you for your question, Cher.
Thank you. We probably have time for one more question, which is coming from our Thai interpreter. So the last question will be, what is the EIDL advance and what is targeted EIDL? Please advise.
Sure. So the Eidl Advance was the original grant portion of the COVID Eidl program. The Eidl Advance was offered last year, but the funding ran out last summer. So that Eidl Advance is closed. The current grant options through the COVID Eidl program are the Targeted Eidl Advance and the Supplemental Targeted Eidl Advance. And to get access to those grants, you do have to apply for the loan program first. Once you've applied, then you will receive an email invitation to the grant application. So you have to apply for the COVID-19 Eidl loan program first, and then you can receive applications for the grant. If you applied a while back and did not receive the email for the grant, or you can't find it, you can contact the customer service team, and they should have access to resend you that grant application link.
And Fan, one last thing, they've changed the 800 number for the COVID Eidl customer service, and I've posted that on the website for you guys in the chat and in the question and answer. Okay.
Great. Thank you, Kevin. Okay, Fan Yang, can you post our contact information so people can email or call us in that regard? I'd also like to acknowledge our interpreters. We had Daniel Zhuang from Canada Education interpreting in Chinese, and Ms. Supra Chowchivich from the Thai American Chamber of Commerce of California. So we really appreciate their assistance in helping us to reach out to their communities, and we look forward to further collaboration with their communities. Also, we'd like to acknowledge our sponsors, which is very helpful in supporting what we do. Our sponsors for today's event include First American Financial and Realty Corp, Adway Personal Care Products, ATIF Holding Limited, Lee's Collection Inc., which is Ms. Shirley, who you saw, she had the question before, and Gorgeous Diamond Club. So thank you to all of our sponsors. We really appreciate your assistance and collaboration. And that, please stay tuned. Next month, we're trying to put together a supply chain webinar, because so many of our clients relating to import export are having issues with getting their products in and getting products on the shelf. So we're trying to bring in some industry experts to address that situation. Hopefully, so you are not in the dark, and you have some kind of idea of what's going to be happening with the import, export, shipping, and so forth in the near future. So in that, we appreciate all of our speakers and sponsors. We appreciate all of you attending, and we look forward to seeing you all on our next webinar. Thank you so much.
Again, thank you so much for joining our webinar today. If you have any questions about this webinar or need assistance in applying this funding, please contact info@williamstephaniefoundation.org. Again, it's on the screen, info@williamstephaniefoundation.org. We will also upload this webinar recording on YouTube for your reference. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, WS International Group. Again, it's YouTube channel WS International Group. It's on the screen if you want to get more fresh information on these programs. Thank you, and we will see you again soon.